Hey, how's it going, guys? My name's ᴍᴏʀᴇ, and today I want to go over patch 0.41 with you guys. So I already made a video on what's upcoming with the patch, but now it's finally out, and now I want to actually show you guys the changes and go over everything that's actually new with the patch. So just getting right into it, there are three main things that the devs wanted to add with this patch. First thing is an overhaul to the enemy recoil system. Second thing is UI improvements. That's kind of a broad one. We'll talk about that. And the third one is controller support. So starting off with the enemy recoil, their goal with this was to have a little bit more of a distinction between the low tier enemies and the high tier enemies. The low level ones, like the class 1 and 2 bandits, for example, those guys are going to be less accurate. They implemented this whole RNG accuracy model. You can see it in these clips here. Basically, those low tier enemies are going to have more of a potential spread and broader accuracy than high tier enemies like bosses. So bosses are going to have a much tighter spread. Their potential accuracy is going to fall within a tighter cone of vision on your character, if that makes any sense. And the low tier bandits, their potential accuracy or their circle of aim is going to be wider on your character. So there's more potential for them to miss, really. It's going to make it's going to make progression in the game feel a little bit more natural, and your interactions with all the different NPCs, the different tiers of enemies, a little bit more natural as well, and have a better sense of progression. That's basically it for that one. There's not a whole lot of detail in it. There's not a whole lot going on, so we're just going to move on to the next one. So there's a bunch of UI improvements coming to the game. They were very non-specific. They didn't say exactly what they were doing with the patch when they announced it. But now that it's out and I've had some time to play around with it, I can show you guys what's going on. So they've added things like when you hover over certain items in your inventory or your stash, like weapons, for example, whatever attachments or ammo you have in your inventory that's visible on your screen there is going to light up for you. So this is kind of meant to be like a visual aid, maybe specifically for newer players that don't really know the systems and attachment systems, ammos, different things like that. People who don't understand or memorize these systems yet, just to be a little bit of a visual aid for them to help them along the way. Another UI thing that they did is they put little pluses and minuses next to items that change stats for your hunger and thirst or fatigue, or your weapons. So weapon attachments, if they do anything to your accuracy, your damage, or anything like that, they'll have little pluses or minuses next to them. In addition to the color coding, we have had that color coding on those numbers for a little bit now, and that's a great way to help see visually what is happening. But adding the little pluses and minuses helps with that too, I find. And then this is the big one. They brought in inventory sorting, which was huge. They brought that in on day 1 of the patch, and then on March 1st, I think, which that was the day after, or maybe a couple of days after the patch, they added stash sorting. There's a little button in the top right corner of your inventory tiles. You just click on that and it allows you to sort everything in your inventory by either price, weight, or type. And then it works the same way in the stash. You open up your stash. On the right side in your stash modules there will be a little button in the top right corner. Click that and you can do all the same things. You can sort by price, weight, or type. I think this here might be my most favorite change with this patch. It's really good. They brought a lot of small visual improvements too to the game. You might notice some things like the rep screen in the PDA looks a little bit different. The weapon modding screen looks a little bit different. They changed colors and font bounding boxes where type sits and all that kind of stuff. So it's just small things you might kind of think to yourself when you see it, didn't that used to look different before? Next and last big change they added with the patch is controller support. I did play the game on stream last week with a controller, and I found it really difficult. It could just be down to my skill level. You play more with the controller, you'll probably get better at it, right? But it was difficult to learn, and in some ways it works kind of strangely. So your aim is always locked to a certain distance from your character. It's about halfway or midway between your character and the edge of the screen. If you want to aim even further than that, you have to press the left trigger to go into your ADS mode. It's the same as right click. And then you can push the crosshair way out to the edge of the screen, out to the maximum distance of whatever weapon you're using. And this will activate scopes too. If you have a scope on your sniper rifle or whatever it is, that'll activate the scope. And you can push it out way to the extent of the range of that scope. There is a pseudo auto aiming or snap aiming feature built into this. So if you get into combat, if you get into a fight and you're trying to aim at someone, depending on how close your crosshair is to that character when you press left trigger, it could snap to that character to just help you with your aim a little bit, which is nice. I like to see that with controllers. And it's not like this is a competitive setting. This is all PvE, so it doesn't really matter for competitive purposes. Some things that I noted when I was playing with controller, navigating inventories and transferring loot is kind of difficult. There is a quick transfer option, so if you highlight an item in either your inventory or the container, whatever it is, a body or a filing cabinet or whatever, you highlight that item and then you press X, or I think it's square on a PlayStation controller. That'll transfer it instantly over to the other container, your inventory or or the body or whatever it is. It's a quick transfer. It just brings it over automatically. The problem with this that I have, it not only brings the item over, but it transfers your selection over as well. So then you have to bring your selection all the way back over to the other container again, select the piece of loot you want, hit X, it comes over, and then you got to go all the way back again, hit X, and boom, boom, boom. It's just kind of like a long and cumbersome like back and forth you have to do to quick transfer items. And something I actually couldn't figure out how to do is fast travel in the bunker. On the keyboard, you have to press H. That'll bring up the little menu that, you know, highlights all the traders, so you can fast travel to all of them. On controller, I couldn't figure out how to do that. And it's not in the button map that the devs provided either, so I'm not really sure if you can even do that on controller yet. Maybe that's something they can fix in the future. You can't actually change the button maps yourself. You can't remap anything on the controllers just yet. I think that would be really good for the community. If you were able to remap things yourself, that would be a big help. You can still access all your hotkeys. So what you do is you hit the left bumper and that brings up like a selection wheel. And you move the right stick, you rotate it around to pick your item, and then that's it. I think that's a really good way of doing that. And that's pretty much it for the patch, guys. That's, you know, pretty much everything that they brought with it. It's kind of a short list, but definitely some important changes coming in. If I had to offer some like constructive criticism or some like complaints with the patch, I would just go back and mention like the visual glitches. It's kind of weird, like with the text going over the bounding boxes, and some weird like inventory glitches with items overlapping themselves, or with items like completely falling off of like the inventory page. I noticed on stream, like some of my guns were just completely falling off like the bottom of my stash pages, which was kind of weird. Maybe those could definitely use a fix. And then a couple of new things that definitely need attention. Performance took a pretty big hit for me. I don't know about you guys, maybe you can leave your thoughts in the comments, but the game is really framey now. Like it'll run pretty smooth for a little bit, but then I get these hitches. I get these like multiple second, like really framey bits where like the frame timing goes off, or like it just seems like my frame rate just takes a dip, and it's really distracting. I never had this issue before. It was never like this. It was perfectly smooth before, but now I get these weird hitches, these weird frame time issues. And then also I noticed this when I was filming a hardcore episode. You guys will see this episode this week and you'll see what I'm talking about. But one of my quests broke. I went out and I completed a quest, brought it back to the bunker, and I went to turn it in, and it wasn't even showing up in the menu. I went up to the trader, I went to their task menu, and it wasn't there, but it would show up in my PDA, and it was highlighted in green, meaning that I had completed it, and I had all the things that I needed, and I did all the tasks and whatever, but it wasn't showing up for the trader, so I couldn't turn it in. And I also can't remove it, so I'm not able to like redo it. Hopefully that means it's not the end of the hardcore series. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, broken quests, not very good. I hope they can fix that. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like on it for me. It really helps getting us discovered and growing the channel on the platform and all that, appeasing the YouTube algorithm gods. And if you're new to the channel, maybe consider getting subscribed so you don't miss any future content like this. Thanks again for watching, guys. I really appreciate you, and I'll talk to you in the next one.